And we're right back to it. Woo! On the last night before my release, I summoned my courage and asked her.
君はこれからもずっとこの病
Damn.
院に居続けるのかい？
結局パパの手がかりはなかったけど、もう他にいるところ
How old is she?
バレそうになるまではいいかなって。
I'm afraid to look it up in case she's not real. So I guess I'll kind of hope. You know, no comment. In other words, there was nothing keeping her there.
よかったら僕の家に来ないか？
Damn, this is why I asked, by the way. I asked timidly. The question took all the courage I had.
え？
Now?
家族はもういないから部屋はいくらでも余ってる。人目を忍ぶような必要もないし、住み心地もそんなに悪くないんじゃないかと。
ずっと文則と一緒に暮らすの？
Damn. I was too afraid to ask her what she thought of that, so I hastily offered a
君の
deal.
お父さんのことは代わりに僕が探してあげる。約束するよ。必ず居場所を見つけてみせる。
Hmm?
難しいと思うよ。それ。
Saya said, looking a little embarrassed.
多分パパ、何か悪いことをしてこの病院を辞めたんだと思う。
Yeah.
だから警察とかは困るの。なるべくこっそりと探さなきゃいけないし。
Okay.
頑張るよ。どんなことだってやる。僕は。
Unable to control myself, I finally spoke the truth. Say it.
さやと離れたくないんだ。
Okay. At first she looked bewildered, but after a few months of silence, she said,
少しだけ考えさせて。
Okay. She doesn't seem weird. That night, she left my room earlier than usual. She doesn't seem unhuman, just she had a strange upbringing where she was homeschooled, I guess. No one seems to know she exists. I could spell for some weird things with her dad. And she was hiding at the hospital. I don't know. This doesn't reek supernatural stuff as I initially thought. It could still. But I'm just kind of uncomfortable over everything. But I like that, so I'll keep going. I don't want to make theories because I know I'm wrong. On the day of my release, I managed to smile as I accepted the hideous, foul-smelling celebratory bouquet. The flesh beasts calling themselves Koji, Omi, and Yo came to pick me up. Though they had come to see me many times during my stay, it never got easier to see my friends change so horribly. My sudden tears of despair drew suspicion, but I managed to explain them away as tears of joy. While we walked to Kochi's car, I looked desperately for Saya amid the grotesque scenery. Even as we drove away, I kept watching the hospital fade into the distance, praying for a last glimmer of hope. But Saya never appeared. Can she only be seen around you? After Koji and the others dropped me off, I paused a while to regard my surroundings. I lived my entire life on this block, in this house. There was no other place that I could call home. But nothing was as I remembered. So I walked up to the path and to the front door and took in the yard where I had spent my childhood. I could feel those memories being defiled by the twisted, festering shapes around me. Imagine being the artist and it's just like, oh, you want another grotesque scene? Okay. Inside the house, I found nothing familiar, nothing to offer me comfort and warmth. What I had once called home was now a whole other world. I whispered with a smile of self-pity. There was one last stop to make. One last nail to hammer into my coffin. Hi, Saya! I stepped into the room that had cradled me from childhood. The walls were papered with human entrails, the bed a tangled mass of worm flesh. But none of that mattered. There, curled up on the bed like an abandoned cat, was Saya. As I stood there in shock, she looked up at me, and in a tiny, weak voice said,
本当に
absolutely. Honestly, like, even if I were in his situation, I'd say hell yeah. Mostly because, like, this is the only hope. Like, this is how you stay sane in this situation, albeit probably still not staying sane. But man. I responded by sweeping her into my arms, embracing her tightly so that she would not escape. That's a little creepy. Saya did not resist. Oh, this is normal. When she arrives at the Sakisaka house, Omi first takes a deep breath to calm herself. Her anger does not vanish entirely, of course, but at least now she can hear herself think. While waiting for a response from the intercom, she looks over the patch of yard that she can see from outside the gate. Even Omi isn't normally one to complain about other people's housekeeping, but this is going too far. The grass is growing wild, and there are piles of dead leaves scattered everywhere. It doesn't just look untended, it looks like an uninhabited ruin. It's still light out, but every window had its storm shutters tightly sealed. Omi guessed that they've been closed since morning. What kind of life is Fuminori leading? Even if he's living alone, he can't neglect his housework forever. And is it just her imagination, or does something stink like rotten meat? Huh? It couldn't be coming from the yard, could it? Like, he would notice the difference, would he? Still, there's still no response, so she presses the buzzer a second time, and a third and fourth. Finally, after this has gone on for over 10 minutes, Omi loses her patience and opens the cover of the intercom. As she expected, the power has been disconnected. Perhaps Fuminori has a good reason for shutting out the world, but Omi can only see it as a lack of respect for others. Her anger rekindled, she pushes the gate open and stomps through the yard to the front door. Given the state of his intercom, she doubts that Fuminori will respond to a knock, so Omi decides to just open the door and go in shouting. And if the door is locked, she'll just have to. Oh jeez, what's gonna happen? Surprisingly, the doorknob turns easy in her hand, and the enraged Omi finds herself throwing the door open wider than she intended. Her nostrils are instantly assaulted by a choking stench. I just realized, Saya can't be a ghost because she's feeding him. Strange realization to have at this very moment, but you know. This is probably a bad time to stop real quick, right? Am I is this is this suspenseful for you? Those of you who have read the story before, do you know what happens next? I don't. I'm just waiting it out. I know you probably want to see my reaction to it, but I'm gonna wait a little bit longer just to fuck with you. I don't know, it could be nothing, let's see. Oh, never mind. No, it's nothing so far. What is that smell? As Omi stands petrified on the threshold, the cowbell hanging on the inside of the door chimes sadly a moment later. Huh? Don't tell me. Does Saya look grotesque to everyone else? Omi can't believe her ears. The voice she just heard could not have been human. Yet his intonations were too complex for any animal she can imagine. She calls out to end of the hallway from which the voice came. There is no response. Instead, she hears the sound of something soft and wet flopping its way deeper into the house. Is Saya what he sees in everyone else? Finding it difficult to place a meaningful image to the voice she just heard, Omi stares blankly at the empty vestibule. There's nothing there, not even Fuminori's shoes, which can only mean that he's still outside somewhere not wearing them. The house should be empty. But then, what was that voice just now? Her anger has vanished as if it were never there. Nevertheless, Omi sets foot into the hallway, leaving the door open so that the cowbell won't ring. The floor creaks, setting her nerves on edge. Omi isn't sure why she's acting like a burglar, but something tells her to make as little noise as possible. potency of the stink inside the house makes the whiff she caught outside pale in comparison. It's sickening, like rotten fish guts. Has food been left to spoil in the kitchen? She hears a bubbling sound up ahead. Stepping gingerly on the creaking floorboards, Omi makes her way to the end of the hallway. She finds rooms to both sides of her, one lit, the other dark, and chooses to look into the lit room. It's the kitchen, lit by what seems to be the only window in the house not covered by a storm shutter. The sound she heard was the pot boiling on the stove, and on the chopping board next to it lay a butcher's knife and some half-diced carrots. Perfectly normal household scene with the light of the setting sun making everything the color of decomposing fruit. Okay, I thought there was I misread that. Something is wrong. Who's cooking here and where did they go? Omi calls, regretting it immediately as she realizes that her voice is shaking. As her words echo vainly through the silent house, she begins to feel foolish and defenseless. Suddenly, she feels something cold seeping through her pantyhose. What? She timidly reaches down to her, touch her feet. Her fingertips come away, covered with a viscous olive green slime, like the filthy water from a tank long clogged with algae and dead fish. The whole floor is covered with it. It must be the source of the stench. Omi now wishes that she had worn her shoes inside. Manners be damned. When she looks back ruefully the way she came, she realizes that her current position is not visible from the entrance. This kitchen must be where the strange voice came from. Oh jeez. The next room is probably the den. As she expected from the closed storm shutters, it's pitch black inside. Omi wants nothing more than to flee this house, but that would mean turning her back into the darkness, and that she simply cannot bring herself to do. Moved by some irrational compulsion, Omi sets foot into the den. It's too dark to see anything, and the stink is far worse than before. She slides her hand along the wall, feeling for the light switch. Finding it much sooner than she expected, she flips it on like it's her last hope. The colors. The colors, so many colors. The purple of entrails, the brown of rotten meat, the crimson of fresh blood, the yellow of fat. These colors, and more than that cannot be described, cover every inch of the room in maddening array. The colors say all that needs to be said about the painter's hatred, malice, and insanity. Omi's legs give out from the shock, sending her to the floor. Slime immediately soaks through her jeans, its cold tendrils creeping up her legs, crotch, and her neck. Her hands fly to her neck, where it is greeted by another drop of chilly slime. Above her, something is dripping down on her head. Making perhaps the worst decision of her life, Omi looks up. The predator clinging to the ceiling, poised to leap upon its prey. She sees it in every detail. Her mouth and nose are sealed before she can scream, and her belly is torn open as something enters to feast on her innards. But by the time she feels any of this, Omi has already gone mad. I bit the bullet and tried to take the train, but the rush hour crowds were so bad that I had to get off halfway and walk. I'm running pretty late. Is Saya worried? I hope she's not mad. What the hell is happening? When I enter the yard, I realize that the front door had been left wide open. Light from the living room is seeping out into the hallway, and I hear what sounds like someone smacking their lips. There's also a tantalizing fragrance in the air. Is it Saya? I considered calling out to her, but decided to enter in silence instead. Something smells strange, though not unpleasant. Oh, it's quite soothing, in fact. It reminds me of Saya's hair. At first, I'm surprised by what I'm seeing in the living room. The floor is covered with what looks like to be some kind of grass, probably the source of the herb-like smell. And there are fruits or vegetable-like balls of varying size scattered everywhere.
さや
Saya turns around, her eyes wide with surprise. She then looks away sheepishly, like a child caught at some prank.
何を食べてるんだい？
これはその
She stammers so flustered that I suddenly feel bad for sneaking up on her. Remembering that she had never eaten in front of me before, I realize that she must be quite embarrassed.
一ついいかな？
Oh god. I scoop up the closest fruit thing and pop it into my mouth, ignoring Saya's attempt to wave me off. It has a strange texture, soft and pliable like a peach or a pear. When I bite into it with my back teeth, a succulent juice fills my mouth, combined with strong fragrance. It's unlike anything I've ever tasted.
何か味付けとか調理してあるのかこれ？
調理ってことはさばいてからちょっと溶かして食べやすくしただけで
You know, the fact that she's being incredibly honest scares the hell out of me. I picked up a different lump, this one consisting of fruity flesh around a harder core. Tearing a chunk off in my mouth, I find that it has a similar taste to the last one.
ねえ大丈夫？それって
僕でも食べられる味だ。っていうよりうまいよこれ。
I did not expect this. I low-key had the thought that maybe, like, things are reversed in some way. But I didn't actually think that it was that like it would go. This idea was in the back of my mind, so I never gave it much thought. But I'm very excited to see that it was kind of true.
そうなの？
It wasn't much of an idea to say that I expected this, but man, I'm glad it was this. At first, Saya looks dumbstruck. Me too. But then she bursts out laughing.
そうなんだ。ふみのりもこういうのが好きだったんだ。なんだ、あれこれ工夫して頑張ってた私がバカみたい。
さやっていつもこういうものを食べてたのか？
Could it be like the doctor that worked on him, like, did the same thing to his daughter, Saya, and she's just like a more evolved version of this? I mean, this answers a few questions. It doesn't exactly ask any more, but it makes me come to some conclusions that are not completely thought through. I'm getting intrigued.
こんな大物は久しぶりだけどね。
Oh jeez.
近所の公園とかで。
Oh god. There's an impressive nature preserve not too long from here. Never heard about fruits like these growing there. But well, of course, they only look like fruits to me. They're really something else.
ごめんね。一番美味しいところ
Oh god.
さっきさやが全部食べちゃった。
いいよ、また今度でね。でもこれで明日から一緒に食事ができるね。
Oh god. Sai seems really happy. I'm happy too, of course. Eating with someone is much more fun than eating alone, and it makes the food taste better too.
まだまだいっぱいあるし、食べきれない分は冷やせば2、3日は大丈夫だよ。ちょっと味は落ちるんだけどね。
It just came to me that, like, the thought that this is his friend too. To be fair, I don't think he'd be like. I mean, I'm sure he'll be against it, but I don't think it would bother him if he knew the truth that much.
じゃあ早めに片付けておこうか。
Oh god. Sealing the small fruits in Tupperware and the large ones in pots and bowls, Saya and I store the remaining food in the refrigerator. Thinking of tomorrow's dinner fills me with anticipation. The big question is, how did she kill her so easily? I feel that, little by little, I'm starting to regain the joy of living. Saya will guide me. With her, I can live on. Ugh. True Scary Stories, Hospital Edition. Oh god, what do they see in the hospital? That's what I was wondering. I had this thought, it's like, okay, so Saya scares people in the hospitals, right? But what did they describe about this? Chapter 4, The Monster in the Hospital. A medical student relates his shocking experiences. Will you believe him or not? Strange things started happening at the hospital around the end of last spring. It began with patients waking up in the middle of the night, screaming. They all spoke of terrifying nightmares, and many of them had to be sedated. Some patients even transferred to other hospitals because of it. The weird thing was that they all had exactly the same dream. A dream about some horribly disgusting monster staring down at them from their bedside. But the really strange stuff started happening after that. There used to be a lot of stray cats around campus, looking for scraps from students. One day the cats suddenly disappeared, and it wasn't that they stopped coming, it was more like they'd vanished from the area entirely. Okay. So she doesn't only eat humans. Maybe that's what she meant by, like, she catches them in the park. Okay. So she's not just a cannibal. Guys, she doesn't have to eat humans. It's, oh, I can right click and see stuff. I didn't even know. Alright, oh, there we go. It was more like they vanished from the area entirely. And then people stopped walking the dogs around. According to rumors, the dogs were refusing to go anywhere near the school. Wait, the school? Oh, the campus, I see. Eventually, things started going missing in the hospital. Organs, to be precise. Ugh. Transplant organs kept disappearing from storage. People came close to losing their jobs over it. Yeah, those things are expensive. This is why people steal them. Well, from people, like, you know, when they, like, capture them and then, like, they steal their organs, you know, and sell them on the black market. That's why they do that. Expensive. They wouldn't do that if they were cheap. Hopefully. And it wasn't just 2 or 3 at a time it happened. They tried to keep it from the students, but we heard it was a lot worse than that. People started saying that there was something living in the hospital. The janitors would find strange messes that could only have been made in the middle of the night. Traces of something that had crawled down the hallway, or weird stains caused by something dripping through the ceiling. The late shift nurses talked about hearing strange noises on the same nights that patients woke up screaming. There's one last story, one you could never mention inside the hospital. One day, the obstetric, I need to look that up. What is that? Maybe I'm just mispronouncing it. Obstetrics. Oh! Oh no! Oh no, I looked up what this is. And that's not the problem, it's just the context of the situation. Oh no! Obstetrics department would create. Oh no! Oh, I don't want to. I don't know. No. Fine. Fuck you. They said that a newborn had disappeared in the night. Yeah. If that were true, the police would have come and it would have been all over the news. But they say the big shots managed to make it all go away. Damn, gotta love that political corruption, am I right? It's just a rumor, of course. And maybe it's just corporate corruption. I don't really know how much that is involved in hospitals. Then again, hospitals are businesses, funnily enough. It's kind of fucked up when you think about it like that. But it does make sense because, I mean, it could be government funded. Hahaha. But then we all have to pay for it. That's a whole can of worms I don't want to touch, so I won't. These strange incidents suddenly stopped toward the end of summer. Now there are almost no patients complaining of nightmares, and the cats have started coming back to campus. Ah, that's when she left. But still, what happened in the hospital that summer? Even now, just thinking about it gives me the creeps. I mean, understandable. Oh god. No. Oh god, no, it's not gonna, it's, no. This is the third day in a row that they haven't been able to get in touch with Omi. There's no sign that she returned to her apartment, and her family doesn't know anything. Her parents have already filed a missing persons report. That is some major copium.
だといいけど。
Yo replies with a gloomy expression. She's worried about Omi, of course, but the incident with Fuminori 3 days ago must still be weighing on her as well. Yo hasn't seen Fuminori since, and Fuminori hasn't made any effort to approach her and Koji. 4 people used to meet in this cafeteria between classes, but now there are only 2.
ねえ、殿くん、もう一度考えてみようよ。どこかおもみちゃんの行きそうな場所に心当たりない？
いや、一通りは確かめたしな。
Koji answers evasively. It's a lie, of course. Koji knows where Omi planned to go that evening, but he doesn't want to bring Fuminori up in front of Yo. Their awkward silence is mercifully broken by the bell signaling the start of the next period.
じゃあ、俺行くわ。
Unless Koji is mistaken, Yo is supposed to have class next period too, but she just sits there, staring off into space. Unable to come up with anything to say, he leaves the cafeteria reluctantly. Both Omi's disappearance and Yo's depression worry Koji, and both problems lead back to the exact same place.
海のりは一体。
When Omi went missing, the first thing he did was question Fuminori. After all, the last time he'd seen her was just before she stormed off to give Fuminori a piece of her mind. Fuminori responded with unequivocal denial and acted like he hadn't the slightest idea why Omi would have gone to see him. Perhaps that was only natural. He was unaware that Omi and Koji had witnessed him reduce Yo to tears. Did Omi even make it to Fuminori's house? She had been riding a wave of emotion when she left, and might have calmed down and changed her mind halfway there. Perhaps she ran into trouble on the way. Koji concluded, or more accurately convinced himself, that one of these possibilities was the truth, subconsciously denying the one remaining possibility that Fuminori was lying, that he had met Omi and was involved with her disappearance. Funnily enough, he did not meet her. Well, he did. He met her body, but he didn't know. He can't see. But he did he have involved? He technically did have an involvement. Well, he did if you count like Saya. But I don't like to be all like association with the crime is the crime. You know, it is to some extent, but like he really had no say in that, and he doesn't know. Like he can't know. Like it's not his fault in any way. Well, it is his fault, I should say. At worst, it's involuntary. No, it's not even involuntary manslaughter because he did nothing wrong. It's kind of fucked up. He did nothing wrong. He doesn't know. Like, he can't. It's like, this can't happen. I can't, like, imagine if this happened in like a law, like a court of law. How could you convict him of anything wrong? I mean, yes, you could probably do the cannibalism, but is it cannibal? It is cannibalism, objectively. But is there like a thing for involuntary cannibalism or just unknown? I don't know. This is not something I have enough knowledge on to really be like, yeah, of course, jail. It's so weird. I like it. When questioned by the police, Koji told the truth about Omi's destination only up to the train station, maintaining that he had no idea where she planned to go after that. Damn, that's actually kind of a mistake. He wanted to cooperate with the search, of course, but Omi couldn't have made it to Fuminori's house. Fuminori said so himself, didn't he? In that case, he told the police everything they needed to know. Not wanting to get the still fragile Fuminori involved, he forced himself to accept this flimsy logic, yeah. But the conflict has built up inside of him without his notice, leaving unanswered suspicion to fester in his mind. Understandable. Koji is deep in thought, paying no attention to his surroundings, but perhaps this is what allows him to catch the sight of his friend's back through the crowd of milling students. Okay. At first, Koji assumes that he's headed to the lecture hall, but it soon appears that he is instead going home. Strange, medical students have required courses in the afternoon. Though he is initially surprised, Koji's hesitation lasts for only a second. He follows his friend, taking care to stay far enough behind that he won't be noticed. Okay, this is the end of this episode. Funnily enough, I might take a break. I probably won't, because I've recorded all these in a row so far, if you didn't know. Ooh, well, I actually did take a kind of a little break after the second one, but that was like a 15-minute, get a drink, normal like human break. That's weird how I say that. I am human, of course. That's the way I talk. Shh. Nothing weird in this side of the world. Just in the game. The game's weird, not me. Anyway, bye. Oh shit. Okay. I meant to say bye-bye and then immediately click stop recording, but I missed. So